But it reaffirms that thinking outside of the box can be super, super effective. You don't always have to listen to the mainstream. To think outside of the box, it's so, so important to not always just follow someone else's lead if it's not working. Honestly, if your intuition leads you down a weird and wonderful path, it can be very, very wonderful. Welcome to the Fitness Genie podcast. This is Coach Laura for the first time speaking by myself without the feedback of Travis and asking me questions and stuff. So I hope that over my time with speaking to you guys more and more on the podcast, I'll be able to teach you guys some stuff on nutrition, fitness, training, life. I'll be talking about certain experiences that I've had myself that have really helped me to grow. If there's any specific topics that you want me to talk about, delve into more, maybe I've posted something on social media and you'd like me to expand on that, I'd be so happy to. Something that I want to talk about in my first podcast, and I'm going super deep because I love to do that. I want to talk about this curious mindset and being more explorative in your life, even when it comes to the challenges that you're facing at the moment. Having a more open mind to things can really help direct you on a better path if you allow it to. Now, I've never ever done anything, I've never really followed the crowd, I guess I could say. I've always been someone to kind of listen to my intuition, and it's led me to where I am today, so I'm grateful for that, sitting here on the floor in my house recording this. But no, what I mean is that if I'm not following what feels right in my gut, wherever I am, whoever I'm with, it's not going to work for long. And I've certainly found this in my career and in my friendships and relationships as well. So like I said, I want to talk about having an open mind and doing things a little bit differently. And I thought I could do this by actually using an example, just one. I will go into other ones as well, but just one, which really helped me think about life, my body, a little differently. So back in, I couldn't even tell you the date, but let's say, I think it was about 25, 26. I'd been weight training for a good 4 or 5 years. And I started noticing a few imbalances in my body, specifically on the left side of my body, and it crept up quite fast. It started up in my neck, went through to my arm and to my hands, and also then through to literally my toes, like all throughout my body, basically on my left side. And literally one thing would hurt 1 week, and then it would be my hip, then it would be like I had an issue with my ankle, I started feeling tendonitis in my forearm, but everything was on my left side, and it was just really, really bizarre. And I would see lots of different physical therapists and coaches help me throughout the years, and maybe one thing would help for a bit, but I found that after a while the pain would come back a bit again, or manifest in a different area on my left side, and I just couldn't get to the bottom of it. And I felt a bit helpless because I didn't really know who to turn to, especially since I'd spent a lot of money to help me in this understanding that what was happening to me physically. Anyway, after doing my own research, I found I'd heard of people, don't ask me how I got to this. I think it was just my intuition leading me to this, to this solution. But I'd heard of people using acupuncture to relieve certain symptoms in their body. Now, one thing that I didn't note was that I felt like not only were these injuries that I was getting and these imbalances in my body, not only were they superficial, so soft tissue related, muscular related, I also felt like my nervous system was having a part to play. Like there were trapped nerves, there or irritated nerves or something. Like I knew it was deeper than just like the muscles that needed work, like mobility training and just opening up my body. I feel like it was so much more than just the superficial side of it. Not only that, is it was causing me anxiety, and I am aware, obviously, more now, having done more research into this, that if there's something going on with your nervous system, there's irritated nerves, it's going to cause some sort of anxiety in your body as well, and that's what was happening to me. So anyway, I was looking into this acupuncture thing, and then I was finding some information on how people would get piercings in order to help with migraines or pain relief. And then I thought, what if my piercings are actually doing the opposite and they're causing me pain? And at the time, I had eight piercings in my ears, so 4 on each side, and then a nose piercing as well. I'd accumulated them over the years since I was about 13, 14 years old. So they'd been in my body for quite a long time, but funnily enough, this pain only had manifested over the last couple of years back then. So after a build-up of anxiety, a build-up of trying to get to the bottom of things and just feeling a little bit helpless, there was an evening where I just felt this urge to take out my piercings. Like it was almost like a physical recoil to them. I was like, they just need to come out. They need to come out of my body. So I took them out. Didn't think much of it. Didn't really think it was going to help, to be honest. And then I woke up the next morning. Oh, mind you, I only took out my ear piercings. I left my nose piercing because I loved it so much. Anyway, so I woke up the next morning and it was so bizarre. The amount of relief on my left side, especially in my neck and in my shoulder, unbelievable. I felt so free, so free. You know when you come out of a chiropractor session and you haven't been for a while and they click you all over the place and then you come out and you're like, oh my God, that felt so good. Well, that's exactly what happened to me, but just by taking my piercings out of my ears. Anyway, a couple of days later, after me telling the story to so many people, especially in the workplace that I was at the time, I was about to do a deadlift session, but I still had some lingering pain. I still had some pain in my upper back and lower back on the left side and in my hip as well. I still felt quite stuck there, in my adductor as well. Someone approached me and said, well, you've got one piercing left, you might as well take it out and see what happens. Now, I'd left it in because I loved it so much, and I knew that if it helped me, it wasn't going back in. So begrudgingly, I actually took it out before the session, and I just decided to train. I was like, well, the pain's still there. You know, I'd literally just taken it out, and then I was going to train. So I trained, and literally by the end of the session, within the hour, I could move my legs and my hips in ways that I have never, I hadn't been able to do in at least 3 years. It was crazy. It was like my body on my left side had just become unstuck. So it just felt so bizarre, and it was magical when it happened as well. It was just such a magical feeling because you wouldn't think that such a small thing would affect you like that. And it definitely opened my eyes to think differently about my body, about how different things can affect you. Just the things that you wouldn't even notice in your life, as small as piercings in your ears and in your nose. going on from this story, my personal story, I was at an event in my workplace, and there, um, my boss basically did some PT mentoring. So he was holding an event which meant personal trainers, upcoming personal trainers, were coming to the event to learn from him. And there was a guy on there who he was struggling to do certain movements, and he was actually talking to my coach at the time, who had obviously heard my story, and he was like, yeah, I have such struggle with my shoulders and stuff, and it really hurts here and there and here, and I just can't get to the bottom of it. And my coach at the time said to me, Laura, like, do you reckon this might be similar to what you had? Because the guy had quite a number of piercings in his ears and in his nose. So I spoke to the guy and I said, look, this is what's happened to me. I have no idea if this would work for you, but just give it a go and see what happens. This event was a 2-day thing, a 2-day or a 3-day event, I think. I didn't think he was going to take me up on the idea. And he did. He took out his piercings. The next day he came to me and he was like, oh my God, I have just had so much relief. Whether it was coincidence or not that this guy happened to be here a couple of days or weeks, I can't remember how far the time was between the two events. But the fact that he was there and I was there to give him that information, is it a coincidence? I don't know. But it reaffirmed that thinking outside of the box can be super, super effective. You don't always have to listen to the mainstream. Me going to physical therapists and spending so much money for people to help me and not getting to the bottom of it until I did my research and I just looked into things a little bit further and a little bit differently, I managed to get to a solution, to a conclusion that was not what I expected at all. And this is just one story that really opened my eyes to be curious, to be explorative in whatever happens, to think outside of the box. It's so, so important to not always just follow someone else's lead if it's not working. Honestly, if your intuition leads you down a weird and wonderful path, it can be very, very wonderful. This might take a while to explain, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so this is going to help explain this whole curious mindset thing. I was a competitive swimmer when between the ages of 8 and 14. I gave up swimming because I was having some mental health issues, which I'll go into on another podcast probably. But I just finished my swimming career in a really weird place, just full of anxiety, and yeah, it was like unfinished business when I gave it up. I was told by my coach, or my coach actually told my dad that I was a better swimmer than my sister. I could be better than her. And she went to the Commonwealth Games. But it was too late. I was told that I could be a better swimmer than her, but no, it didn't work out that way. Anyway, that always stayed with me a little bit and broke my heart. But I gave up swimming for a while, and then in my early 20s, I decided to pick it back up again. But something really bizarre started happening when I brought it back into my life. I started getting really bad sneezing fits. These sneezing fits were so bizarre because I didn't know where they came from. I never used to sneeze before. Now, in my training, I used to train really hard, and I still do. I don't know how to not train hard in the pool. So when someone says, oh, like, are you swimming for recovery, or what are you doing? I don't know how to swim for recovery, and that's not how I've been trained to swim in the pool. Anyway, the sneezing fits never went away, and I went through some weird food allergy phases in my life. So I just brought the sneezing down to me being allergic to something in the water, like the chlorine or some sort of like toxic chemical in there. But I was like, it's not worth me giving up. I really enjoy doing it, so I'm just going to keep going. Back in 2020, when I started up with a coach, I told him the story about my sneezing, and he said to me, the sneezing is not down to any sort of allergic reaction. It's down to how you're swimming and why you're swimming, your why, and how you are producing energy in the pool. So, my intentions and the tension I'm bringing in the swimming pool. So there's a few constraints that he gave to me. Now, at this point, I was already very open-minded because I'd like I'd said to you before, this weird piercing story had happened to me. I knew there was a lot of stuff that I just didn't know about my own body and the human body, and I was very, very open-minded when he told me this. Bit bizarre. Okay, it's not an allergic reaction yet. I'm sneezing constantly. You're telling me that it's not to do with that. It's to do with my why. How bizarre. He gave me a few constraints. He was like, right, we're going to expose you to swimming really slowly, not push you too hard. I want you to stay present in the pool. I want you to have the intention to be as present as you can. If you're going too fast, you'll find that you'll get a lot of negative self-talk. If you go too slow, you'll become bored. So stay in that fine line of staying present. Don't go too fast, don't go too slow. Create internal tension, which is something that I'll talk about more in other podcasts, but just creating a type of tension that helps activate the parasympathetic nervous system to keep me kind of at peace whilst I'm swimming and keep me in this flow state. Now, he also told me to only swim for 20 minutes the first week, and every week add on 2 minutes. First couple of swims I did, I ignored him, and instead of doing an hour, I did 45 minutes. And I stuck to creating internal tension, so this specific type of tension in my body whilst I was swimming. But yeah, I went way over time, and I also went really, really hard. I came out of the pool. This happened twice. I came out of the pool and I sneezed so much. I was a bit disheartened. So I thought, right, okay, actually listen to what he says and do the 20 minutes, stay present, create internal tension. Do those 3 things, that's all you got to do. So I did it. I came out the pool and I stopped sneezing. After all this time, I stopped sneezing. It was crazy. And after that point, I kept doing this and kept doing this. And then I reached a point where something really strange happened in my body. Now, I was on this weird path of kind of like weird enlightenment path because I couldn't believe that the sneezing had stopped, and he had said this was down to my why and my intentions rather than an allergic reaction. I just find that, how weird and magical is that? God, there's so much in life that we just don't know. This happened to me. It's such a weird explanation that I've never come across. Anyway, so I was very open-minded already. And then I went into the pool and I went for another training session, and I think I had planned to do, I think it was something like 28 minutes or something, or 26 minutes. And I went for a swim and I was in such a good flow state. You know, when you kind of forget how fast or slow time goes, you just have no recollection of how much time has gone by. I came out of the pool 45 minutes later and I was like, oh, shit. I've gone way over time. But then something even more magical happened. I had the most euphoric experience. Like, legit felt like I was high. It was really bizarre. And I felt totally in love with life and with myself. I felt a self-love I'd never felt before. God, this sounds so weird to say um, to you guys, but there you go. Um, yeah, it was really, really bizarre, but it lasted for about 3 days. And I told my coach, and he was just like, well, there you go. You've been able to let go of some issues you had of your why to why you were swimming. And I realized in that point that that was the first time that I'd gone swimming for the right reasons. I went swimming because for the love of what I was doing, and not for this unfinished business that I had from back in the day when I got told that I could have been better than someone else. um, it was egoless training, which is something that I'll explore in another podcast. But again, really bizarre, right? But I had to have an open mind in order to experience that. I don't think I would have been able to experience this um, profound event or be able to get to the bottom of my sneezing with my swimming unless I had had this curious mindset. So, yeah, there's another story for you. um, I've probably made you think that I'm really bizarre and weird, but I hope that you're able to get a message from this that our bodies are friggin' magical, that whatever's in the mainstream that we're being taught is not necessarily always the way forwards, and thinking outside of the box can be really, really powerful. Um, so, yeah, I'm going to leave you on that note, and I promise to come back to you with another podcast episode, which isn't so bizarre. Um, but yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this, and any feedback welcome. Take care, guys.